Every haunted place has a story with a dark past. This is Ghost Encounters Podcast. Welcome back, all you spooky people, to the Ghost Encounters Podcast. I am paranormal investigator Justin Torok.
And I'm Jordan, the group scientist.
I'm Hannah, your death-obsessed bestie.
I hope everyone had a great Spookmas. What do you like better, Spookmas or Creepmas?
Creepmas.
Oh, I like Creepmas.
I like Creepmas.
Creepmas? Okay, well, I hope everyone had a great Creepmas. We are recording this before Christmas, but... and Happy New Year! This is the first episode of 2024. And on the first day of 2024. So if you're hungover and listening to us, thank you.
Yeah, it's allow the dulcet tones of our voices to soothe you through your hangover.
Well, this is season 3, episode 6, Haunted Asylums. We talked about one asylum before, Penhurst, which is close to us, only about an hour from us. There are a lot of great, creepy, haunted asylums throughout the entire globe.
Yeah.
So we got some wild stories on this episode. So if you get a little queasy, or if you don't want to hear some violent stuff, this is not the episode for you.
Yeah.
Because there's some crazy stuff about to happen.
Content warning, definitely.
Yeah.
Because this is about to get upsetting.
It is. So
I have a trigger warning. I'm going to say before I start talking about one of my stories.
Uh-oh.
Pretty.
It's like all of it, honestly.
I was reading it and I was like, I'm upset.
Yeah, mine
like
too.
this.
I was getting a little nauseated.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
no.
there's one really kind of gross story in mind.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's all bad.
But warn them before you start going into that.
Well, this is your warning.
Oh my god.
We're already here. Enjoy
All right.
your hangover.
Yeah.
You're going to give them the reason to just throw up.
So welcome, brave souls, to our spine-chilling journey into the decaying halls and shadowed corners of history's most haunted asylums. This is the journey into the unknown, where the echoes of the poor souls of the tormented, mentally ill, and criminally insane refuse to be silenced. My story is about a mental hospital in Australia, actually.
Oh, cool.
I decided to go outside of the U.S.
We're
and
going
pick one in
down
Australia.
under.
Yeah, we are going down under. It's Airedale Mental Hospital. The Airedale Mental Hospital, also known as Errett Lunatic Asylum, was an Australian psychiatric hospital located in Errett, a rural city in Victoria, Australia. Airedale, along with its counterpart institutions Kew and Beechworth, were established to provide refuge for increasing population of individuals labeled as, quote-unquote, lunatics.
Which, obviously, that's not what we say now.
Correct.
But that was the parlance of the time.
And of course, we know around this time, people who were considered lunatics weren't actually lunatics. They just were either mentally ill or needed help or were just gross criminals. The foundation of this somber asylum was laid in 1865, and by 1867, its doors swung open, ready to admit patients into its solemn confines. However, many of these so-called patients never left, still wandering around in anguish today. In the wake of gold's discovery in Victoria, I didn't know there was a gold rush in Victoria, Australia.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. I thought they had, I know they have opals in Australia.
Mhm.
I know they have at least precious stones. But I
Yeah,
didn't know they
but every time I
had
hear
gold.
Gold Rush, I always think of California, the West. I never
Yeah.
really thought of Australia, but I guess there was a bit of a gold rush.
I don't know anything about Australia other than that everything is bigger there and their snakes eat sharks and weird shit and
Huge spiders.
it fucking terrifies me.
Toads.
The place fucking terrifies me. And there's a conspiracy theory that it's not even real.
I
People are out there saying that's not
What?
real.
I literally heard about that for the first time this morning.
Like where those people
on the
from?
toilet.
What?
They're in the Olympics, man.
Yeah.
Where would they be?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, a tide of immigrants surged in, lured by dreams of riches, right? However, instead of wealth, many found only despair. With some tragically succumbing to madness, in these times, these individuals were deemed literally insane, and they were placed in standard prisons.
Oh no.
And they didn't really get the care that they needed, right? If
course. I
someone's
feel like
mentally
that's-
ill and they go to prison, they're not going to get the care that they need.
I feel like that's a theme for a mental hospital.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially back in this
Back
time.
in the day, yeah.
Recognizing this dire situation, the Victorian government initiated the construction of Airedale in 1860, aiming to transfer these labeled as criminally insane from prisons and to ship them to Airedale. By 1865, the first group of patients, referred to as inmates, were ushered into this newly built asylum. So the first people to, before like the door swung open to like, I guess like public bringing people in or bringing in your family member or whatever, the first group were literally prisoners that came to this asylum. And there's going to be a recurring thing where a lot of prisoners, even really well-known ones, stayed in this asylum.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Before long, Airedale also housed individuals suffering from mental illness. Many of these conditions would be like postnatal depression, epilepsy, autism, Down syndrome. At its peak, the institution became a sprawling community, sheltering a staggering 1,000 patients with a dedicated staff of 500 tending to their needs in this huge, vast facility. Airedale was a self-contained world. As we know, this happens with a lot of these asylums.
Yeah.
It had its own market gardens, orchard, vineyards, even a piggery.
A piggery?
Yeah.
I've never heard that word before.
It's kind of cute.
A little bit.
I guess a
Theoretically,
different
it's
word than like
cute,
a
you
pig
know.
pen.
Yeah, you know.
More ominously, it had gallows, a morgue, and a graveyard. Airedale was a complex of a sprawling 63 structures. Its courtyards encircled by deceptive ha-ha walls. Yes, they were called ha-ha walls. It was a design typically in early Victorian asylums. To the outside observers, these walls appeared to be deceptively low, masking any sense of confinement. Yet on the inner side, there was a trench, and it rendered these walls unfathomably high to even consider trying to get over. So from the outside, you see a wall that's not too high. So it gives this appearance like, oh, this isn't like a prison. That's just like a decorative wall surrounding the complex.
We're
But
not
when you look
keeping
at
these
it from the
people here.
inside, there's literally like a steep, declining trench at the wall.
Jesus Christ.
So you literally, it goes all the way down to where the wall starts, and you're just looking up at this huge wall. So it's a deceptive, that's why they call it a ha-ha wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've heard the term haha before, but I didn't actually know what it was.
Gotcha.
So now I know.
Yeah.
And it's even worse than I could have expected.
I never heard of that before.
In the chilling winter of December 1886, the mental hospital unveiled its most foreboding section, J Ward. This ward was specifically fashioned for those who, under normal circumstances, would be confined in jails or reformatories, yet were deemed insane.
Oh,
So
I
these
see.
were violent criminals that were considered insane.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why
Oof.
are they in jail? But I could see
Yeah.
they just moved them because they had something else going on.
It became the holding ground for the most infamous and dangerous criminals, a place where notoriety and madness intertwined. Among these people were notorious figures such as Gary Webb, Mark Chopper Reed, and William or Bill Wallace, each adding to the ward's dark and unsettling legacy. Let's take a look at some of these people that were at this quote-unquote mental asylum, because really right now it sounds like this is a jail.
Yes,
Right?
it is prison and possibly torture.
So this is where some of these stories are going to get a bit graphic, especially the first one. Don't read ahead.
Damn it.
I want you to be surprised. I
I
want to
was-
get your reaction.
Okay.
But this first story is definitely one that's a bit gross. And so we're going to start with Gary Webb. A hardened criminal with a lengthy record met his fate at Airedale following a violent incident during a pizza shop robbery. In a desperate attempt to evade capture, he shot a police officer. He survived, the police officer, but he was captured and sentenced to 14 years.
Well, he deserves that.
Webb's behavior while he was in Airedale took a sinister turn. He penned letters to the media filled with gruesome threats for when he would be released, describing the disgusting things that he would do in public. And
Oh no.
they deemed him that he was public harm, that actually a unique law was actually enacted to ensure his permanent confinement in Airedale. So he was sending letters to the media describing disgusting, horrible things he would do to people when he gets out.
So he's legitimately 100% dangerous.
Yes.
And letting people know
that he's dangerous.
That he's very dangerous.
So the government was like, all right, well, let's make a law to make sure he just stays locked up.
It's just maybe a little better for everyone.
Because they can't technically keep him locked up for no reason, so they had to make some kind... I don't know what the exact law is, but they made a law to make sure that he stayed there. Probably for something about public harm and things like that.
Well, I mean, if he had something mentally, like mental health-wise wrong with him where he was acting out, I guess that's really not...
Well,
but they didn't know that stuff?
He starts acting out even more.
Okay.
Webb's time was marked by extreme self-harm.
No.
Resulting in over 70 hospitalizations and cutting off his penis 3 times.
My God. 3...
What's there? He didn't cut all the way off the first time.
Oh, he cut it off. But the doctors were able to reattach it twice. The third time...
They were like, your penis privilege has been revoked.
So...
They should have just freaking let it.
Well, here's what happened the third time.
Okay.
Oh, no. Oh, no!
A guy... One of the workers were coming with... I forget if he was either breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They're coming with his food tray.
No!
They opened a little hatch to bring him his food tray. And they said, food's up. And they hear... Cock's up, and he slams his penis on the tray.
Oh my God!
And that was the last time the doctor said it was too far gone to reattach.
I mean...
Cock's up!
No!
I guess we can't make a shirt with that, right?
Oh my God.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
I'm screaming
sorry
into
I'm
the
laughing
microphone.
too. But
I am not laughing. This
am.
person was seriously, like, messed up. Like,
he had a sense
he
of humor
was.
with it, but I mean, still, he cut off his... Imagine cutting off your penis 3 times.
Well, it's scary when funny guys are insane. I hate to say it.
But his tormented spirit is rumored to linger in his old room.
That's terrifying.
Aggressively confronting visitors with screams, forceful demands, especially when he screams at people to get out.
At least he's keeping his penis to himself.
Well, he doesn't
don't
have it,
got
so
one.
yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever go there. I don't want to go see him.
Keep that away from me, man.
I'm good.
There's one bad dude. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Now,
freaking crazy.
Let's talk about a guy named Charles Fossard. He was admitted in 1903 at the age of 21 and died in custody in 1974 at the age of 92.
He was basically there his whole life almost.
He was the longest serving patient at the facility, as well as the longest serving prisoner in the entire world.
What did he do?
So to be locked up his entire life, what he did was he killed and stabbed an elderly man and stole his boots.
Oh no. I was feeling bad for the guy.
Me too. I thought maybe something was wrong with him, deformed
maybe
or something.
He had a facial difference.
He ended up killing someone for the boots.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Well, I was on your side, Charles.
We were willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, my guy.
Well, now we can talk about Bill Wallace, admitted in 1926 at the age of 44, remaining in custody until his death in 1989 at age 107.
Wow.
God damn.
He was both the oldest patient at the facility and the oldest prisoner in the world. He was incarcerated for 64 years, but he was the oldest prisoner, and he's actually in the Guinness Book of World Records as such.
Oh my God. What did he do?
He shot an American at a cafe in Melbourne, Australia.
Only Americans are allowed to shoot Americans, evidently.
I guess, I don't know. But that's what got him locked up.
Really edgy.
Shots fired, literally.
Fuck, I'm so sorry.
Now, in the eerie confines of J Ward at Airedale, visitors often report disturbing experiences. Many feel a sudden onset of illness and an inexplainable sense of fear. Some even enter a trance-like state.
I'm sorry, that sounds like me when I get up for work. A feeling of illness and sense of fear.
It's very explainable.
Sorry, I cut you off.
When they enter this trance-like state, apparently the spell cannot break until they exit the building, and then they feel fine again. There are chilling accounts of invisible forces pushing or biting individuals as they navigate the ward. Adding to the ward's sinister atmosphere, it's said to be haunted by 3 spirits of prisoners who were executed and buried there. They were denied a proper burial. Their restless spirits are believed to linger, with their presence eerily signified by 3 scratches on the prison wall.
Dun-dun.
Now let's head over to the women's ward. The ghostly figure of Nurse Carrie is said to roam, her presence felt as she watches over the tour guides. This ward is further haunted by apparitions of nurses still clad in their uniforms, wandering the hospital corridors and then suddenly vanishing. Visitors often report a mysterious tingling sensation on the side of their head when entering a particular room, a room with a haunting history as the shock therapy ward.
Oh, that's creepy.
I knew it. I knew it was going to be the shock therapy ward. I knew it.
Now, George Fiddymont was the last. I know it's a funny name. George Fiddymont was the last governor of the jail. In 1886, George was showing a group of people around the asylum when he started down a set of stairs. Suddenly, George falls to his knees, suffering a major heart attack. He died on the spot.
Jesus Christ.
These days, tour guides and visitors hear heavy footsteps and banging in the same stairwell. But when they go to take a look, of course, no one's there.
That's a good story.
Visitors to the asylum who walk past the office of former superintendent report a sudden bitter taste in their mouth. A strange sensation indeed, but according to reports, the superintendent named Dr. William L. Mullen became distraught in his life and committed suicide in his office after swallowing cyanide in 1912.
That's a fucking horrible way to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Any kind of poison.
Yeah,
is just...
I can't imagine feeling that low that you feel like you gotta do that to yourself.
I'm sorry, my guy.
Could you imagine being around all these people and like doing
Yeah.
things like shock therapy and lobotomies?
I can't
and,
imagine. I would
Ugh.
not. I'm not built for
Awful.
that shit.
No, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Like,
I'm not that
even
kind of-
being a therapist now has
Yeah.
got to kind of...
And you know these asylums, they were built far away from public.
Yeah.
People often lived there, like workers. Like, it's a terrible life. Closing in 1993, its 130-year history, Airedale witnessed the demise of more than 13,000
Holy
souls,
shit.
including inmates, patients, and staff members.
Ooh.
Such a vast number of deaths within its walls have undoubtedly imprinted a profound emotional residue on the structure. It's the lingering aura of sorrow and despair that has led many to regard Airedale as one of the most haunted places in Australia, a testament to its dark past.
Means they had like 100 deaths a year.
Wow.
That's a lot of
you with the
deaths.
math.
100 deaths a year. That's
That-
a lot.
Is it still standing? Is the structure still
The structure is there. You can, I think, on the website there's even a 360 walkthrough you can do of the grounds, not on the inside, just the grounds. It's very well preserved, very well upkept. You can go and take a tour. I think they do some haunted stuff. They have everything listed. You can see J Ward. They have stuff written about the notable prisoners that were there. All kinds of stuff. So they did a really nice job fixing it up, keeping it the way it was, and preserving this terrible history of Airedale.
Wow. I would go. I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's... talking about this stuff, I always feel like a complicated
Hannah,
way.
let me tell you something. If you're going, I would go.
Yeah.
If I would ever have to walk alone anywhere in there, I'm dead. I'm gonna die of a heart attack.
In the same spot as that guy.
Because I want to keep something that I have, I'm not going alone into Cox Up guy's cell.
Not
going
going
alone in there.
anywhere alone. Nowhere.
Not in there.
Ooh, I don't want to go in his
I'm too
cell, though.
sensitive to
Yeah,
go
I don't
anywhere
know.
alone.
Dude, I am psychically so dead. It's like, it's terrible. It's terrible. I want to see or feel something so bad, and it's just like,
It's
I know,
gotta
I'll-
happen.
Jordan's here.
I'm like,
I'll-
go over there.
I'll go alone, but I'm not going in that ward.
No,
I'm not going in
that's
that
fair.
room alone.
Not that fair.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I ain't going nowhere alone. I just don't. I
You,
don't
the
know.
ghosts do attract themselves right to you for some
It's because
reason.
they know I just don't want to deal with that
No.
life, and I'm just in it to win it.
Well, on this disturbingly haunted story, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to have some more haunted asylums.
Get ready.
This episode is brought to you by The Colony Meadery. If you haven't tried mead yet, it's alcohol made from honey. It's all natural, totally gluten-free, and delicious. Colony Meadery is one of the best meaderies in the world, and it's located in Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley. Stop in and try a flight of meads. Grab some bottles or cans to go, and experience some of the best booze in the world. They have flavors ranging from tart and quaffable lemon laws and Wu-Tang Crayon to sweet cinnamon vanilla series of tubes, and even sweet heat with their mango habanero. Learn more at colonymeadery.com. Speaking of mead, Ghost Encounters and Colony Meadery did a collab, and we came out with a caramel apple mead called Spooky to the Core. It's scary how delicious this mead is. Grab some today and haunt your taste buds. Ghost Encounters is sponsored by Phoenix Fire Media. Elevate your business with their digital marketing strategies, including their multi-award-winning social media marketing, photography, and video production. Phoenix Fire Media, igniting success through creative excellence. Visit phoenixfiremedia.com. If you're enjoying the Ghost Encounters podcast, hit subscribe and give us 5 stars. To watch full episodes of the Ghost Encounters show, visit ghost-encounters.com. And don't forget, when you're on our website, click on the Spooky Shop for all your Ghost Encounters spooky swag. To stay up to date with Ghost Encounters, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Ghost Encounters PA. To send spooky fan stories, email GhostEncountersStories@gmail.com or message us on social. Do you want ad-free episodes of Ghost Encounters podcast, plus bonus episodes, extra content, and much more? Then you should head to Patreon and be a spooky VIP. Go to patreon.com/Ghost Encounters podcast and be haunted from all the benefits with the spooky VIP membership. And we are back with these dark, haunted asylums. Hannah, why don't you take it away next? You got one that's in our hometown almost, not too far away.
It is, yeah. I like the local picks. For mine, I have researched Byberry, which is the, I guess, sort of the typical name for Philadelphia State Hospital.
Okay.
I got into a lot of digression here. Hang on. All right. Turn of the century asylums were almost uniformly terrible. They were filthy, overcrowded, understaffed, hellish nightmare spaces where people with mental illnesses and developmental disabilities were dumped by their families, routed in from the poorhouse, or referred for mental health assessment from the prison system. There were hundreds of these asylums, now renamed state hospitals, quote unquote, across the United States, and Byberry is one of the worst. Really, like, it is widely known to be one of...
It's bad.
Yeah.
All these asylums were... You couldn't have said it any better. So overcrowded, lack of help, funding, everything. Like, the states literally, like, got the funding that built these, and then all of a sudden, like, stopped giving funding.
Yeah.
And
funding was withdrawn. Like, there were just way too many people that needed way too much help.
Yeah.
And everything just started to kind of crumble in.
Yep.
Coincidentally, most institutions were initially opened like for compassionate reasons. You know, people really gave a shit.
That was the first initial intent, and probably for maybe a few years of these places opening up, it was that, but then it just went downhill.
It became too much too quickly. The part of the idea was to get these vulnerable folks like out of the hard, dirty living of the cities and into this like peaceful little bucolic farm life where they would move to this state hospital. They would be self-sufficient, and they would just have like this nice, restful life to like let their brain heal.
But that was also placed really far away from the public because the public didn't want to be anywhere near that.
Yeah, realistically, you know, the problems of abuse, neglect, overcrowding ended up winning out. People would dump their family members there if they either didn't feel like caring for them or couldn't care for them.
Or if they were any little bit autistic or mentally challenged.
It was bad places to be. Byberry was one of the worst state hospitals in the state of Pennsylvania, if not the whole country. It was built in 1911, created not necessarily to be a self-sustaining community like Airedale was,
right?
But to help with the overcrowding of Blockley, which was another institution housing, you know, the insane, the poor, etc. After its opening in 1911, Byberry was taking almost all of the inmates from Blockley's insane department.
Wow.
Which was basically their it was like a poorhouse overflow.
Oh,
so
okay.
These were people who were so poor that they were not able to take care of themselves, and they were just kind of shifted from one institution to another. By 1914, Byberry had over 2,500 patients.
Holy shit.
Yeah, which was its capacity. And it's been 3 years and we already have a problem.
Yeah.
It's like it started out bad and it just downhill. To address this overcrowding, new staff was hired almost indiscriminately, just like random people who would come in off the street and ask for a job.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like nobody was vetted, nobody was certified, like it was just randos. During World War I, there were about 3,000 conscientious objectors who fulfilled their alternative service, which that was something that I didn't know about going into this. If you were a conscientious objector during World War I, you could essentially fill up the 24 months that it would where you would be assigned to military service
To do something
else.
else.
Yeah, you could do something else, which
Okay.
was usually like helping in a hospital. Or,
See, that's nice compared to now. If you're that, you're just going to get imprisoned.
yeah. The conscientious objectors were some of the people who brought out the stories of the really frightening shit that was going on at Byberry. Some of them even took like little secret photographs, and thanks to them, I guess the story was really made public.
Right.
Oh, well, good for them.
Right? Doing something good with that, what was it? The alternative service. There was, when these stories started to come out, there was considerable dissatisfaction from the general public, but there really wasn't that much that was able to be done. And the inmates didn't really have anywhere else to go, especially if the place was closed down, so it was just kind of all bad. It was all bad.
Yeah.
So Byberry stays open, it continues to grow, and by 1947, it was housing 6,700 patients.
Holy shit.
And you
And
said capacity
was 2,500 patients.
Oh, shit.
So that was like under
Wow.
3,000 people, and now we're almost at like 8,000
Double that,
people.
yeah.
It's double.
Wow.
Shit.
So it's just it's a hellscape in there. So we've got way too many patients, all with unique needs that staff can't even hope to attend to. As a result, patients are left unbathed and naked for weeks at a time. Nothing is cleaned. Floors aren't mopped. Beds aren't changed, and the unwashed sheets and floors cause the whole place to just have this horrible miasma of urine, which, like, you would walk into the building and people were just like immediately sickened.
Oh my god.
Staff often left patients in restraints or isolation for months on end. In the 1980s, which is not that long ago,
No.
a patient named William was left tied to his bed for somewhere between 14 months and 3 years.
Jeez.
That's horrible.
In the resulting lawsuit, William's lawyer stated that William was exponentially worse in condition after his time at Byberry than before he had arrived.
Well, of course.
Thanks to his lawyer, William was released. However, at least 57 other patients were not so lucky. I just need to pause here and say that 57 is a very low number. And
Yeah.
so I feel like this is very, very much understated and like being covered up.
Yeah.
Because there's 6,500 people living in actual hell,
Yeah.
and there has to have been so many unreported deaths. But these 57 deaths specifically were due to patient neglect,
Oh my god.
Wow.
which, they were just left in
neglect.
rooms,
Yeah.
tied to beds, left to rot. Concerningly, as if, the rest of this was not very concerning, Byberry had an open door policy which allowed certain patients out into the community as a reward for good behavior, which could have been nice if there had been any system in place
Right.
to keep track of literally anything, because patients just kind of walked out all the time. People would just
Jeez.
leave.
I would have left too.
I would've
Dude,
fucking left.
same. I would leave and not come back. If I was able to, I would leave and not come back.
Yeah.
People out in the community would often find patients on the lam from Byberry sleeping out on their lawns, just people sleeping rough. Some folks took this opportunity to escape from Byberry and died by suicide.
Jeez.
One patient wandered off campus and, unable to find a staff member to help him find his way back, he died of exposure.
Oh,
And I fucking hate all of that.
that's horrible.
Yeah, it's just a massive human tragedy.
I know I watched like some documentaries and stuff where they talked about a bunch of like quote unquote asylums and everything, and they had actual videos of like some of them and like what these people went through and how they like lost the ability to walk because they were confined in certain spaces for so long and not able to get out and move.
And your muscles
So,
atrophy.
When we talked about Penhurst, there was a room of cribs, but in the cribs were children as old as 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, because according to staff, there's just not enough time to put mats down and teach them how to walk.
Bruh.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
horrible.
I get it when you have 10 staff members for a couple thousand people, there's no time, but damn.
Yeah,
It's just not legal. Like,
It's-
it's just not.
it's
I mean,
mind
not
boggling.
today.
Yeah,
No.
that's just horrible to do to somebody.
Honestly, it probably wasn't even legal then.
Yeah.
Like,
They just turned a blind eye to it.
yeah,
It's-
because there's nowhere for people to go.
But it's just interesting that he had this one has an open door policy, and now patients quote unquote
Yeah.
are wandering the fucking streets of places.
just leaving.
But at Arendelle they had haha walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what the hell?
It all bad. And it only gets worse. I was gonna say that was the worst thing that happened at Byberry, but it still gets worse.
Oh hell no!
I'm laughing, but it's not funny. Byberry treated their patients with something called the water cure.
I know what the water cure is.
No, you don't. Well, maybe you do. But I would have thought, because I wrote this down, because I was like, oh yeah, the water cure, where they dunk you in water and, whatever. Because I have written, you might think that this was possibly somebody being put in too hot or too cold of a bath, possibly alternating between
That's
the
what
two.
I thought that was.
Yes.
Because they did do that.
They did do that. And I think I read The Bell Jar when I was in high school, and they did that to Sylvia Plath in The Bell Jar. I love
This
The
also
Bell Jar.
happened in Nurse Ratched,
Yeah, it did.
which was a great adaptation to.
It was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, kind of.
Kind
the same
of
character,
this,
anyway.
Well, they loosely.
Yeah,
But
very.
an adaptation to like probably how asylums were in the beginning stages of asylums. It wasn't like taking place in the bad parts where they
After
had,
the whole
the
like,
influx of
massive collapse and
Yeah,
everybody's just
but
walking
they had
around.
They showed like lobotomies and those baths. But I want to hear what the water cure is now.
Yes. And then when it said it wasn't that, I thought it might have been like a witch trial ducking stool.
Right. Okay.
But it wasn't that either. An orderly would wet a towel, roll up the towel, wrap the rolled up towel around a patient's neck, and twist the ends together like a tourniquet until the person was choked to unconsciousness.
What?
Like, I don't understand how that's in any way supposed to be a cure for anything.
How the fuck is that a cure?
And not just abuse.
Not just torture.
Yeah. It's just,
I was thinking in my head why I don't know anything about these things, and that's why I'm super quiet right now. But now I completely understand why I don't give this the light of day, because I just can't handle it. Like,
It's
it
all
makes
terrible.
me
Right.
so
there's
sad.
there's absolutely no science or health anything behind any of these procedures.
Yeah, it's like just
And
what
it's also
people wanted
very
to
sad.
do.
yeah, it's terrible. This happened to people.
I gotta
who
look up
lived.
the name of the bath thing, because I know they did do there was two baths, one extreme hot, extreme cold. They would put them in alternating and try to shock them into
back
being
to-
not crazy.
Yeah.
It's pathetic that we ever thought something that stupid would work.
Right.
It's dude,
Well,
it's all
absolutely
the
bad.
problem
pathetic.
is in these times, the doctors, quote unquote doctors, that were in charge, it was mainly experimental.
Yeah.
They had theories, and they basically used these quote unquote patients as test subjects for these procedures.
We're going to get into that, too.
I mean, that's
shit.
kind of how science is. Nowadays, we don't use humans, we use other sad things.
But at least now, today, we actually, like, you know, look at brain scans and think about what things are before we just start, you know, doing
choking
things
a
to
motherfucker
people.
out.
Yeah.
Actually think about medication, not, you know, shock therapy.
Lobotomies and shit like that.
Okay. So that, I thought that was going to be, like, it's all bad at Byberry. It's all bad, all of it.
Yeah.
Another contender for the worst thing that happened at Byberry was that 2 orderlies just straight up murdered a patient.
What?
Yeah, just, they killed a guy. Straight up killed him. No reason. They just strangled him to death. And then they blamed this on untreated PTSD from World War I, which is a pretty sick thing to do. Because PTSD is a real thing. But,
Yeah,
like,
it is.
No, guys, no. But they didn't lose their jobs and were allegedly promoted.
What the fuck?
So that was not the only murder. In addition to the poor, the unhoused, the mentally ill, there were also actual criminals living at Byberry after the courts ordered them there for psychiatric testing instead of to prison.
Testing.
Yeah, testing to be tested, which never happened because there was just so much.
Yeah.
So murder, assault, sexual violence were all common at Byberry. In one case, it was only discovered that a patient had been killed when staff discovered that other patients were carrying around her teeth.
Oh my god.
Yeah, maybe that's actually the worst thing that happened to Byberry. It's just,
I'll trade you 2 molars for a front tooth.
right? Like,
Hey,
we're all
what?
we're just taking human lives and throwing them right in the trash. Oh, but does it get worse? I don't know. It's all still bad. This is where I talk about the doctors testing procedures and drugs on patients. At the time, it was allegedly thought that schizophrenics do not feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they have a fucking nervous system, they feel pain.
Yeah. So doctors pulled teeth and operated on patients with no painkillers, no anesthesia, no nothing.
I can see, like, if they're in, like, a catatonic, like, state, and they're just, like, sitting there, just staring off into space, why somebody would assume that they don't feel pain, but come on.
Right. Yeah, I remember when we were talking about Penhurst, if a patient bit someone, I think 2 times was the charm where they would get all their teeth pulled.
Oh my god.
And no one was able to
I
even
do
teach
remember
them
this.
how to brush their teeth, so their teeth would rot. And so, well, here comes more teeth pulling.
That's fucking horrible. I just don't,
You just don't get to have
it's
teeth.
just so, this is so traumatic to even learn about, and these people went through it. It's like a...
Yeah, and that's not even, like, the only group in history that's happened to.
Right? The shit that humans can do to other humans is
It's terrifying.
Byberry was finally closed, fortunately, after an investigation exposed the horrors of all of this, and it was finally closed forever in 1990.
That's so not that long ago.
I was born in 1992.
Same.
Yeah, so 2 years before me,
That's when this asylum actually shut down.
yeah, there were...
That took way too long.
Way too long.
for an
1911, yeah.
Especially when, like, near the beginning, the conscientious objectors had photos and stories.
Yeah,
Like,
and just
what?
nothing was done. Nothing
I mean, that's
happened.
kind of like, I keep going back to Penhurst just because it's so close to home, and I want to be at that. Like, I'm a little obsessed with that story, and I want to go there so bad. But they had the news segment called "Suffer the Little Children," and they even played it on the news. There was outrage, and they showed what the conditions were like and what was going on. They compared the cost of living that an animal gets at the zoo was almost twice the amount of the cost of living that a patient gets at Penhurst, and that even took 30 years or so, 20 years to get it shut down.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Governments are not people. The wheels grind slow, and they grind
Yeah.
upon humans.
This episode has made me so depressed.
I'm sorry.
I'm sitting over here so sad.
Dude, I was
Happy
reading this and I was
2024.
sad. It's
terrible.
all bad. It's all bad.
But this amount, this unfathomable amount of death and awfulness and negative energy is what makes these places so fucking haunted.
Yeah, it's all
And
just...
unfortunately, this is how us as humans have to learn how to not be.
Yeah.
By learning these things and hearing these things
Yeah,
and
very
being
true.
like, I can't even believe this fucking happened.
Yeah,
Up until the 1990s. And now we finally have different things in place where people aren't straight up fucking abused and left to rot.
Yeah. Fuck, man. I'm just so
like, I'm
Fuck!
sitting here like, this is
I don't
fucking
have...
horrible.
Yeah,
Do we need another break? Just in case.
Just everybody... dude, I need a drink. It's bad.
We're gonna get drinks
all
after
right,
this.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
I need one.
So, I guess little silver lining here is that Byberry is no more. Closed down. Done. The empty shell of Byberry then sat, slowly rotting and being consumed by the dense Pennsylvania foliage, before finally being demolished forever in 2006.
Get rid of it.
Yep. Salt the earth.
It's an embarrassment to even have it standing.
It really is.
Yeah.
In addition to being a ghoulish draw for urban explorers, Byberry is said to have been inhabited by some former patients who had sadly returned to the ruins with nowhere else to go. The major story associated with Byberry, this is like their major ghost story. It is the story of one such patient, unnamed, rumored by urban explorers to still be hiding in the abandoned tunnels underneath Byberry. Either in spirit or in person, with a knife, waiting to slice the throats of anybody unfortunate enough to stumble across him.
Oh, shit.
It is rumored that a satanic cult had once taken up residence in the skeleton of Byberry and opened a portal to hell within its crumbling walls.
Of course they did.
Right?
Of course they did.
To this I say, was it not already a portal to hell to begin with?
Exactly.
Some explorers have escaped from Byberry with welts and scratches on their skin that they can't explain, and they attribute this to the paranormal. Other visitors have reported apparitions and shadow figures flitting through abandoned halls and growls and screams echoing down dark tunnels.
That'd be pretty creepy.
I would be very afraid if I heard something growling in Byberry.
Yeah, or screaming down. Like if we went down those tunnels, you just hear screaming down there.
Yeah. However, any new ghost stories are kind of unlikely, as the former site of Byberry is now a vacant swath of land with not much on it but trees and some stone and concrete remnants of previous structures. In 2021, there were plans to put a warehouse complex on it. Yeah. Because that's what we're building. It looks like there are also some condos or like a 55 plus community on the land that is adjacent to where they want to put in those warehouses.
I see.
And I'm just kind of disappointed.
The structures are gone, but the tunnels, like they're underground, so can we still get to them? Even today, there's got to be an entrance somewhere.
I'm not going.
No?
Fuck no. I'm going down in tunnels where people are going to slit my throat with a knife.
That, honestly, I spend a lot of time in Allentown. Sorry, shots fired at Allentown.
I get it. Some communities are rough, but like, I don't need the ghosties coming to kill me.
I will die doing what I loved, antagonizing a ghost. I'd fuck with that. I'd fuck
That's
around.
crazy. A lot of these asylums had underground tunnels to link the different buildings together.
Yeah.
And a lot of them had, like, their own morgues and everything else to bury bodies and for cremation and everything else.
Yeah.
I'm so depressed.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Hopefully this doesn't get worse.
No,
Jordan, you're up next.
So I talked a lot last time, so I kind of just did a very common one. It was very, like, short and simple. I'll give a background, and then we'll talk about some ghosts, and then that's it. Cap, done.
Let's do it.
Nothing too crazy, trust me.
This one also is not too far. New York, right?
Yeah.
Mine's like a cupcake round for the last two
compared to what we just
hell
heard.
rounds.
Yeah, that was just heavy.
Yeah.
That was real fucking heavy.
Okay, hold
I
on.
thought mine was rough.
Nope. Dude,
Jeez.
yours at least had, like, good ghost stories. Mine is just like,
Well,
of course it's haunted. Everybody died.
you can't have much
You know?
if the building's not there anymore. You
Yeah,
know? Like, not many people are actually going there.
Yeah.
But still. Jordan, take it away.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about Rolling Hills Asylum, which is located in East Bethany, New York. Before becoming known as Rolling Hills Asylum, the property was called Genesee County Poor Farm. Rolling Hills is known to be extremely haunted. It's on a shit ton of paranormal shows,
It is.
by the way.
Yeah.
I've heard of this one.
And it has a fuck ton of paranormal activity, apparently. Resembling a reformatory, a poorhouse often housed orphan children, families, the elderly, physically handicapped, mentally unstable, morally corrupt, and even criminals. That's direct quote from their website.
Morally corrupt.
The definition of a poorhouse, which I didn't know what the fuck a poorhouse was when I was reading.
I've never heard that.
So, yeah, so a poorhouse is, quote unquote, an institution where very poor persons were maintained with public funds to include orphans, widows, the handicapped, and minor criminals.
It's like Dickensian.
It's just a different name for what's about to come.
Yeah.
It's really all it is.
And I know that they refer to most of these like asylums as poorhouses and stuff like that, which I've never heard until I did a bunch of deep dive.
Yeah.
It's like your brain is sick or you have no money, so you gotta live in a nasty hole.
Yeah. So the people that lived there were required to work. It also helped them pay to live there. Such farms were common in the United States in the 19th century and 20th century. Institutions like this one were widespread in the United States prior to the creation of the Social Security Program in the 1930s. I thought that was a cute little tidbit of information that, they finally were trying to get their shit together eventually in the 30s. So I have an official announcement that was dated December 9th, 1826 that appeared in a newspaper. It says, "Notice is hereby given that Genesee County Poorhouse will be ready for the reception of paupers." I hope I say that right.
Paupers.
It's a word for poor people.
Yeah, paupers.
Why couldn't they just say poor people?
It's already a poorhouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the first day of January 1827, the overseers of the poor of the several towns of the county of Genesee are requested, in all cases of removal of paupers, to the county poorhouse, to send them with their clothing, beds, and bedding, and such other articles belonging to the poor people as may be necessary and useful to them. So basically we're like, okay, bring their shit, drop them off.
Yeah.
Just to try to get people to come in there.
Yep.
Brutal.
The people that were eligible to come to the poorhouse were drunkards, lunatics, one who by disease, grief, or accident lost the use of reason from old age, sickness or so weak of mind as to be incapable of governing or managing their own affairs, paupers, a person with no means of an income, and state paupers, one who is blind, lame, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, who is blind, lame, or old, disabled with no income source, or a vagrant. I'm kind of sad that the poor people just got dumped here, though.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, at least they had a place to go.
Yeah, but they didn't have no shelters then?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
They didn't have any
That's
of that
where you
stuff?
went, and this is where you went before they had
See, I didn't know that because,
shelters
I said before, I don't do any sort of research on any asylums. This stuff is too deep for me to handle.
even shelters and shit now. There are a lot of people who are scared to. Oof.
Yeah.
All bad.
The Genesee County Poor Farm, they also called it the county home, as if changing the name was going to make it sound any better.
Yeah.
Was a self-sufficient working farm that spanned over 200 acres, providing food and fuel.
That's a huge farm.
Yeah.
200 acres.
Yeah.
So basically they're sent here.
Yeah.
Or dragged here, told to come here because they were poor, didn't have anywhere else to go. And they were told they had to work on the farm.
There was something that I read that the residents learned how to make pottery and were selling it so that they had extra money to live.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Theoretically,
it sounds nice.
Yeah.
It's just you're stuck here, figure out something to do. So their hobby was going out and probably finding clay from the dirt.
Have a little art therapy.
Yeah. They probably didn't give it to them, so they found it themselves, which was pretty badass of them. The actual cost of care for each person was pretty low, as per usual for these things. About $1.08 per week per resident back in 1871.
So back
Turn of
then,
the
that's not
century.
too bad.
It's not terrible.
I mean, there were stories from probably Byberry and Penhurst and those where in the 1950s they were getting that
Yeah.
price. You know what I mean?
So all of the residents that lived there were referred to as inmates,
Of course.
no matter how they were housed there.
Very dignified.
Yeah, and those that were physically able to work, like I said, would work on the farm.
Yeah.
This is what I found really cool. They raised pigs. I'm not sure what a Holstein is, but I'm assuming it's some. Okay, it's a cow.
It's a cow.
Draft horses, chickens, and ducks. They did some stuff with vegetables, fruits. They even canned jams, jellies, and they had meats that they kept.
Hell yeah.
It was all a part of their chores. There was a bakery, which I thought was pretty cool. And of course they had a wood shop where the coffins were made.
Of course.
Yeah.
For those who needed, to be buried.
Yep.
At least they buried them in coffins. Some places
When they're giving them
just throwing
something
them
to
out.
do,
Yeah,
they're teaching them.
ground.
They're teaching them skills. Like it's starting off as a nice story.
Like we had a little intent here of a better life for vulnerable
And
people.
like I said, they made these like clay pottery and all that stuff, but they also sold the coffins as well.
Yeah.
Which is
Okay.
it doesn't sound that bad right now.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of Briarcliff, huh?
Yeah.
Got a little American Horror Story Asylum. That was my favorite season. Don't come for me.
That's a good one.
So they would bury those who had no family, and records indicate that there was once a cemetery there, but now you can't find any of that information. So people don't know exactly where these people were buried.
They're definitely buried somewhere on the. I mean, you have 200 acres. That's a lot of land to cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would assume it would be somewhere near the buildings.
Yeah, and that all kind of faded away as stones crumbled and like the grass grew and everything.
Yeah.
Like we said, up here where we live, it's all
Time.
trees and shit.
Yeah. Time takes it all back.
Yeah. So even though so far this has sounded so nice and everything, the people that worked there really didn't care about the residents, the quote unquote inmates. They just didn't care about them.
Yeah.
These people, although they were poor, ill, and sometimes abandoned, do deserve to be remembered. So it's kind of shitty that they don't have the cemetery registry or plot map.
Yeah.
And they never found it so far. A memorial site was created in the Genesee County Park, and on June 6, 2004, when 5 headstones dated from 1887 to 1888 were returned to the county. The Genesee County historians dedicated a historical marker honoring those who died while living in the county home from 1827 until the facility was closed in 1974. So it's open for a while.
Yeah.
There are over 1,700 documented deaths, and hundreds are believed to not be recorded.
Yeah, I mean, back then
feel like
they
that's-
didn't really document things
Yeah.
very well.
That's probably how it all went down.
On purpose.
Yeah.
I'm sure at least some of that's on purpose.
So that's the boring background of Jordan Spiel on Rolling Hills Asylum and how it is and was.
When did it become the name Rolling Hills Asylum, though?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I love that answer.
I
It's
am
like,
not going to even
I
look
thought
it
it was
up.
always just called
I'm not going to
Rolling
act
Hills
like
Asylum.
I know. Yeah, same. I didn't know that it had another. I listened and I watched a lot of documentaries, and they just kind of refer to them in sync. So I've never really figured out when. If somebody knows, I would love to know. But
Yeah, unless it was just called that really far after the fact.
Yeah.
Or something,
Byberry had a lot of names too. They called it a bunch of shit because nobody wanted to
be associated with
Yeah, nobody wanted to copy
it.
that.
It happens.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Ghosts! Exclamation point. On RollingHillsAsylum.com, you can read people's stories, which I think is really badass, that they have basically a whole section that people upload.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That they visited and everything. They
Fuck
have paranormal, you can go in groups to do paranormal things, tours and everything. But they also have prices for if you wanted to do it solo, with whoever. And it's really cool. You should definitely check out their website. So going on with ghosts, very popular one tragic story involves a resident named Roy. Roy suffered from extreme giantism, a physical deformity that left his face deformed, his hands and feet oversized, and his height was well over 7 feet.
Damn.
Wow.
Roy was the son of a prominent banker in New York, of course, and he was sent to live at the asylum because his family considered him to be an embarrassment.
We're
Terrible.
sorry, Roy.
Well, they're fucking an
Sorry, Roy.
embarrassment.
Yeah.
So he was brought to the asylum when he was 12 and died there at the age of 62. He loved opera music and was known in the asylum to be kind, gentle-hearted, just like an overall really kind person. Cool person.
A gentle giant, if you will.
Exactly.
Roy, no. I'm going to Google him. Are there any photos?
They have apparition pictures and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Imagine seeing like a 7-foot.
And I'm talking like you can, like they put it to scale, like where they take the picture and you can see like he's like all the way up past a door frame.
God damn.
Tall. Yeah.
God damn, Roy. I'm sorry.
Today's visitors see his tall shadow lurking throughout the building. One story recorded by Weird New Jersey, told by the owner of the building, Sharon. I'm just going to put that little trigger warning in right here because it talks about death of an animal. So
Okay.
Trigger warning this whole episode.
I read this.
Seriously.
I read this and I was like really depressed because, I love animals. So I just want to put that little trigger in there. Sharon tells a story about running into a rat in the infirmary about 2 months after moving into Rolling Hills. Terrified by it, she screamed and ran away. The very next day, she found the rat dead by the stairs, blood oozing from its mouth as if its neck had been broken. On the wall above the rat was a giant bloody handprint. Sharon believes that this was the ghost of Roy witnessing her distress and killed the rat for her.
Damn, Roy.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's just trying to help.
Yeah. Others at the asylum were not so kind, obviously, liking the power that they held over people in the asylum. One of the nurses in the infirmary, Nurse Emmy, bitch. Why is it always got to be one of these people? Like,
There's always like a bad nurse or a bad doctor.
Like in the Gettysburg one. Fuck that bitch too.
Yeah. Certain people find their
Rosie
ways
or whatever her
into,
name was.
they find their ways into these jobs where they just have power.
They should
over
not
people
be working
and-
in these jobs.
Yeah, you gotta like vet people, I suppose.
Yeah. But anyway, Nurse Emmy was known for her cruelty. She was a mean bitch. She was feared by many of the inmates and also the staff, and was even rumored to have performed satanic rituals and black magic on the other residents.
Jeez.
So the other inmates, whatever you want to call them.
I love how she's got like a cute little name too.
Yeah, Emmy, the cult.
Nurse Emmy the Satanist.
Reports have circulated that Nurse Emmy still walks the halls of Rolling Hills. As visitors hear a cackle-like laugh coming from the infirmary today. I'm pretty sure Zach Baggins, or Baggins, however you pronounce his last name, he caught a cackling laugh at Rolling Hills. That was like season 4 or something ridiculous, back when it was good. There have been other reports of cruelty from staff members, but the residents of the asylum did their best in sticking together and protecting each other.
Oh.
I thought it was pretty badass of them to be there for one another. Another paranormal hotspot in the asylum is a room known only as Hattie's room. This room has captured voice recordings of an elderly woman yelling, "Hello!" I think that's like,
Hattie?
when I first read it, I wanted to believe that was cute, but then I was sad when I read the rest.
Oh no, here it comes.
It is believed that this is the voice of a former patient named Hattie who was blind and used to yell hello all day and night to get attention of the staff and nurses.
Oh, poor girl.
Yeah.
Old lady?
Yeah.
Old lady.
Poor old lady. Another location is the second floor men's dormitory. It is referred to as the Shadow Hallway.
Oh.
It is a fitting name since the hallway is where visitors see a bunch of like shadow figures moving about. So they'll like be like looking down and you'll just see like people poking out of the rooms.
Oh.
But then you'll see them cross too.
Shit.
So they just like, it looks like people are just like straight up
Going
Times
about
Square
business.
in it. They're just like walking all over the place. Yeah. That would freak me the fuck out, I'll be honest.
Dude, same.
Yeah, they walk in and out of the doorways, like I said, across halls, peek out from behind the doors, and even sometimes are seen crawling across the floor.
No.
Oh, damn.
That's
Yeah.
even worse.
Yeah,
That's
that
the worst.
that would throw me up a little red flag. I'd take off running probably.
Bad news.
The psych ward and solitary confinement locations in the asylum are some of the most sinister. Iron brackets protrude from the cement walls of a small room in the basement, which is believed to have been used to shackle the unruly inmates.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is where they beat your ass.
Yeah.
To death.
The owner explained the horror of this and that it wasn't always just the criminals who were being locked up there. She says, quote, "Back in the day, they didn't understand that you probably had a medical issue, Alzheimer's, epilepsy, Tourette's syndrome, Asperger's syndrome, or you were just an unruly wife. Back then, if a man couldn't control his wife, he'd say, quote again, 'I'm going to lock you up. There are many, many reasons why they would lock you up, so this area is not good. End quote.
Wow.
It's all bad.
Yeah.
All bad.
Pretty shitty. I would love for, if I had a husband, them to say that they're gonna lock me up. Go ahead, bitch.
You'd smack the shit out of them.
Try it. The only place they're gonna take me is outside, and I'm gonna tell them that you're shitty, and then I'm gonna go back inside and sleep peacefully.
Jordan's gonna throw your ass out the house.
Bye. You can sleep with the inflatable Jack Skellington in the front yard. So the morgue, of course, is another hotbed for ghostly activities in the asylum. In this room, there is a large embalming table, 2 large refrigerators, and a huge steel sink. The morgue is full of paranormal activity, such as items being moved, disembodied voices, and visitors even report being shoved down to the cold tile floor.
Oh, shit.
Damn.
So they're roughed up when they go in there.
I'll go sit in the morgue.
Yeah.
I'll go sit in the morgue.
The it doesn't seem like Rolling Hills was all that terrible compared to you guys, but apparently it was shitty enough for people to linger.
Yeah.
You know, and stick around and
unfortunately
feel like they have nowhere else to go.
Yeah. All bad.
And they're still there.
Yep.
There is a cool fact.
Oh no. Okay.
Hannah.
Oh, okay.
Something that you have. That was really cool.
So, yes. A couple of years ago on Instagram, I found for sale by this guy. His name is Cole, and his little business is Crooked Teeth Keys, where he sells like antique keys, antique locks, oddities, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Super fucking cool. He didn't tell me to plug him or anything, but I think his shit is cool. But he had listed for sale an antique key to the women's ward in Somerset and Bath Lunatic Asylum.
Oh, wow.
From over in the UK. And I nerded out so hard about this to my fiance that he bought it for me.
Aww.
So
she has a key to
the
women's ward of
Somerset and Bath Lunatic
You know what?
Asylum.
Now, if I would have bought something like that, I would have had attachments. I would have had fucking shit moving around in my house.
I'm not gonna say that I wanted that to happen because but I secretly wanted it to happen.
I think you were gonna do this one, but there wasn't enough info and not long enough.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole. Yeah, I had initially looked into doing like a whole bit on Somerset and Bath, but when I looked it up, like I didn't get a whole lot of stuff on hauntings, which was kind of a bummer because the place, like the building's still standing. It's just been turned into like luxury apartments.
Oh shit!
And that's again, I am just unfailingly disappointed. Yeah, that very much that sound. However, I was actually thinking of this listening to your story about Rolling Hills, because there's this big project over in the UK that they're doing with the cemetery around Somerset and Bath, where a lot of the patients, the inmates, whatever, were buried. They found a bunch of burial records.
Oh,
and
cool.
like now,
at least they found something.
Yeah, they found records. So they've been like very methodically going through and numbering plots and putting down little plaques and art installations and giving people at least some of the dignity that they deserved in life that they now have in death. So there's a little bit of a positive note there.
Wow, crazy.
We need some positivity here. This shit's depressing as fuck.
Yeah, it's all fucking really
this was
sad.
This was a rough, sad, tragic episode.
Yeah,
I almost wish I told my story first because now I'm just so fucking mellow and so like sad, melancholy. I
hope
say.
we didn't make your hangovers worse.
We did.
We definitely did.
We definitely did.
All right. Let's try to lighten things up. Let's go to the part of the podcast for the spooky fan story.
Spooky fan story.
I am going to do this one because we are going back to Australia.
And you talked about Australia.
Yeah. And this was really cool. Jordan, you got this email from this person from Australia, and they had a picture attached to it too, right?
Yes.
So let's get into it. She says, "Hey, Ghost Encounters. I discovered your podcast about 3 months ago. My name is Chantel. I'm 29 years old from Melbourne, Australia. I have always had an interest in the paranormal."
Hi, Chantel.
Well, Chantel, before I read it, thank you so much for sending in your spooky fan story. Thank you for listening to us and sharing the podcast around. Thanks for the spooky fan story. We need more of them, so people please send them in. And I love this part of the podcast.
Yes.
But her story continues. Firstly, I have some stories to share of my own sleep paralysis experience. My first sleep paralysis experience happened in 2009. I was 14 years old at the time, having a sleepover at my friend's house. It was mentioned a few times by her and her family that they had encountered some strange things happening in their home. Items being moved, lights turning on, etc. Nothing overly sinister though. She had 2 siblings, an older brother and a sister. Her sister had recently moved out and her brother was out this particular night. She also lived with her parents. When I slept at her house, we would both sleep in her bed. Can I just say that she was oblivious to everything and slept like a rock. Where her bedroom was situated in the house, it was part of a hallway. In this hallway, you had access to her siblings' rooms, a living area which had double doors to close it off, a bathroom, and a laundry at the end. To enter this hallway, you had a sliding door. I could not sleep this particular night, as all I could hear was fast-paced footsteps going up and down this long hallway, and the sliding door open and close for about 2 hours.
Wow.
Somehow I eventually fell asleep, but I was terrified. Her parents were 100% asleep in their room, which was quite a distance from where we were. We asked them in the morning if it was one of them. They said no. Her siblings were also not home. Not long after this occurred, I had another sleepover. This time I experienced my first sleep paralysis. Obviously, you were all aware what happens during this experience. I was terrified and I've never heard of this phenomenon.
Oh, man.
My eyes felt like they couldn't open properly. I could not move. I could not speak. I could barely breathe.
This just happened to me the other night where I was opening and I was going in and out and
Yeah,
I
you
could
were
see
saying.
my sleep paralysis demon's ugly fucking face, so
Fuck all.
I feel
Yeah.
your pain.
It felt as though something was sitting on top of me. I broke out of it after a few minutes. But, all caps,
Oh.
that was not my most terrifying sleep paralysis. In July 2022, I experienced, I'd say, my 4th and most horrifying paralysis.
Oh.
Myself, my husband, and our 2 children went on a 2-day getaway to a little country town called Miraboo.
Adorable.
It sounds like a nice name.
Right?
It's just over an hour away from where I live. From the moment I walked into the Airbnb, which was a self-contained 2-bedroom unit on the owner's property, I felt quite not right. The room had 2 single beds in it and its blinds completely closed. It was very dark. I got an uneasy feeling as soon as I entered the room.
Trust your feelings, hit the dips. That's what you should have done.
Girl, run!
I had to open the blinds immediately. My husband and I decided that he would sleep in the double bedroom with our 3-year-old daughter, and I would sleep in the single bedroom with our 22-month-old son in the porter cot. That first night, I was exhausted and could not wait to go to sleep. However, I could not sleep.
Oh, no.
I laid in the bed from around 10 p.m. to 1:30 a.m., awake. Finally, I felt myself dozing off, and hello, the sleep paralysis begins.
Oh no.
I like how she's telling this story.
Yeah.
I'm really having a good time.
The usual experience, as mentioned before, except this time I had to pull myself out of it 4 times, and each time I would hear a man's voice getting closer and louder to my face saying, "Ah!" I was terrified and just wanted it to stop. So I bailed on I can't even read this.
I started laughing before you read it because
We're all reading
I
ahead.
read it ahead.
She said, so I bailed on my son and jumped in bed with my husband and daughter in the other room. Oh my God.
That's
do what you gotta
fantastic.
do, Chantel. No judgment.
We're definitely not going to judge you here.
No. The second night, I made my husband sleep in that room. He didn't experience anything strange. There was definitely something not right in there. Lastly, I want to share a creepy photo of an old friend of mine from 2007. The photo was taken on an old Nokia phone in her bedroom. It has not been tampered with in any way. The ghost that appears in the photo is apparently her auntie on her mother's side. She passed away from lung cancer due to being a heavy smoker. If you look closely at the image, there appears to be a cigarette in her mouth. My friend experienced all sorts of weird shit in her house. Thank you guys for taking the time to read my stories. Keep up the awesome work. Stay spooky, Chantel.
Yay!
That's awesome. I love
Chantel.
all these stories are there. They always say the stay
I
spooky.
love the
I love
stay
that.
spooky.
Yeah, man.
So this was like 3 almost 3 spooky fan stories in one. I love
Yeah,
that
she
you had
killed
that
it.
experience
Paranormal.
as a kid from the footsteps and the closing of the sliding door, the sleep paralysis and the sleep paralysis at the Airbnb, and then this creepy photo that you sent us was really cool because you can
Yeah.
clearly see.
Something is
yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
behind her.
And she does have a little
Yeah,
snake.
you
Yeah,
can
it looks like
see,
a white thing
like,
in her
an-
mouth.
You can see an adult woman's face behind her friend, and it looks a bit like the figure was like moving suddenly or something. But you can
Yeah.
see that there is a cigarette in her mouth too. That's such a cool paranormal photo.
Yeah.
Also, she has side bangs.
2000s, man.
Yeah.
2007,
we all had
what
the
a
side
prime
bangs.
time.
It hit different.
What a time to be alive, people.
Yeah. Well, Chantel, thank you again for sending in this spooky fan story, and thank you again for sending in that very spooky paranormal image that you attached to it.
Yes, thank you. I love
This
how
was
this
the-
was written.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I
it
could
was
like
written
imagine
too.
everything and
Yeah,
see
it was
it.
written like someone was just like kind of speaking this to you, and
Yeah.
this was the first time we had a photo attached, which was
Yeah.
really cool.
Super
Top
cool.
notch.
Yeah.
Really.
So thank you again, and thank you for being a fan. And yeah, this is great. This is a great story.
Yeah.
All you other fans, we dare you to try and top Chantel's story.
Yeah.
We dare you.
It's a hard one to top.
Yeah, try us. Try us.
And what's dope is that she's from Australia.
Yeah.
Writing to us in America, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, that's
I like
awesome.
geeked out. I sent it to you guys right away. I was like, oh my god, I'm in Australia.
If we ever go to Australia, we gotta meet her and say hi.
Yeah.
I'll buy you a cup of coffee. I'll hold me to it. I don't give a fuck.
And, well, thank you all for listening. Thanks for going through this tragic podcast episode with us. As always, please share around, give us 5 stars, follow us on social, all that stuff. It really helps us out. And yeah, I guess this is it. This is
Yeah.
all. We're gonna go get a drink.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
some stiff because I'm depressed. I'm very
All right.
sad today.
Let's do it. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Stay spooky.
Have a good, healthy new year.
And don't smoke cigarettes.